In software engineering, we are taking chapter number 8, Understanding Requirements. Analysis patterns. So we already talked about patterns. Patterns are those already known things. Those which have already been done, you know it, and it can be reused. So those requirement engineers who are quite experienced, they have worked for a while. So the requirements, they know there are certain problems, there are certain areas where the problems will reoccur. That is, if you are going to a networking project, you know what are the problems. If you are going to some other field, you know that these are the general problems which normally will come. So these analysis patterns, those patterns are kind of analysis ways which are going to suggest a solution to these problems. For example, if you are going to a networking field, the problem can be solved using opening the sockets, IPC, pipes, there are various ways. So the solutions will be on the basis of what will be the class, what will be the function and behavior that can be reused. So Geer, Schulze and Hassler, they suggested the benefits or the advantages of using this analysis pattern. First thing they said that this analysis pattern will speed up the development of abstract analysis model. Analysis model is all about requirement engineering. So to the different abstract level, that is the highest level, lower level and minute level. Here the capturing of the main requirement by providing the reusable analysis models, because it is all about reusability, and also advantages and limitation will also be known, because analysis model is done for requirement and reusability and advantages and limitations. The second benefit, he said, that when you have a very good analysis model, it is a strong foundation for the design model. Okay, because now again the design pattern also can be implemented because of the common problem that can be avoided. So analysis patterns, how we are going to integrate? We talked about a pattern name, so same pattern name you will use here. Agile requirements engineering. Agile is fast, agile is flexible. So when we are taking requirement or we are doing requirements engineering with agility, this is all about transferring the ideas, transferring the thoughts from the people who are going to come to you for making the software, that is the stakeholders, and those who are going to make the software, that is the software team. So this is all about a flow of ideas or casual talk or discussion, rather than making extensive, elaborate and cumbersome kind of analysis work product like the use cases, like the activity diagram, like the state diagram. The requirements are not predefined here. Whenever you develop certain thing, knowing the basic understanding or at the point whatever you know, you complete the backlog or you make a run, then this iteration will give you more input from the user. And with the understanding of every user story, there will be more feature will come up that will more refine the next increment. And this agile process, basically you know that if there are certain requirement, which requirement, for example 1 to 50, 39th requirement I am talking about, this is the highest priority, so you have to replace it with the requirement 1. Okay, so these prototypes are there and you can easily create them and also test them, so that the priority, the actual functionality and the testability can be achieved. Okay, so this is all done with ongoing prototypes and incremental way. This agile requirement engineering, there are certain issues which are generally faced in the projects, the software projects. First thing is, you know it that the requirement is going to change. There will be a high volatility in the requirements because they will change, they will be modified, they will be deleted, they will be added. And when you don't know about the development technology, you don't have the complete knowledge, you and your users. And one more thing, until you present something in front of the user, he's unclear. He wants to build it, but he doesn't know, he doesn't have clarity. So you present a prototype. Now he's quite clear. Oh yeah, exactly, I want this. No, I don't want this, like this. So customers are unclear and they will be clear. Requirements for self-adaptive system. The name is suggesting those systems which are made to be self-adaptive. That is those softwares, those applications, those systems which are self-adaptive. That is, they can reconfigure themselves. They can increase or decrease their functionality. They have security, they have protection feature. They can also recover from any kind of failure. Just, without no user being exposed the internal complexity. So the adaptive requirement documents, whenever we make the requirements for these systems, everything is about the variability, because these are adaptive systems. Adaptive means changing according to the situation. If we are going this, the road is blocked, we change the track, road is blocked, we change the track. And this road can change every time. So this is all about variability. These self-adaptive system requirements is variability. So variability is about, you don't know the time when it is going to happen. There are different users, user profile, end user. It can be system administrator. So there will be user profile differences. And the more important is, profile and user is important. The problem domain. That is, if it is going to be professional, the behavior will change. If it is educational, it is used in the educational aspect, the behavior will change. And also, predefined behaviors exploiting system assets. That is, that how this system is going to behave, because there are various resources it is going to use. So more the variability, if the questions of the requirement, if more variable is there, the resulting system will be more complex, because we need to handle and assure the variability input. Negotiating the requirements. Negotiating is all about talking, but talking to get certain result, to get certain conclusion. What happens whenever the discussion is going on? We would like the stakeholders to balance the functionality, to balance the performance, to balance the cost and time. And this is what we want from the stakeholders. But in reality, if you take the foot or inside your stakeholders' shoes, then you have to think about that also. As a software engineer, as a requirement engineer, okay? There are multiple parties involved. Every party should be in a win-win situation. Cost is there, time is involved, money is involved. So negotiation is all about developing a project plan that meets the stakeholders' need. Okay, we want to complete his requirement, but also we have to know that in real world there are certain constraints, because the time is limited, the people you are working with is limited, and the budget, the amount is also limited, or it is well constrained. So in all these constraints, developing a very good project plan that meets the user's need is negotiation. In this money, in this time, this can be done. So the best negotiation always is striving for, is looking for a win-win condition for all the parties involved. Stakeholders, how do they win? And as a software team, what do you win? So stakeholder win when most of the majority of their needs are being fulfilled. For example, 1 to 50 requirements are there, 45 perfect requirements you have completed, use cases you have completed. And how does the software team win? Software team has a budget. They are provided a deadline. For example, 1 million amount is given and 2-year time is given. So under 1 million in 2 years, if the software team completes and gives the majority of the requirement completed, both wins. So Boehm, he defines certain set of negotiation. What does he say? He says that the stakeholders should be put in front. What is the viewpoint of the stakeholders' system? What software he wants? What subsystem he wants? You need to identify it first. Then you have to make or do everything so that the stakeholder feels he won the game, won the negotiation. So determining the stakeholders win condition also need to be known to you. And negotiation of the stakeholders win condition. Now you have to reconcile them into a set of win-win condition, because here there are different stakeholders with different viewpoints, with different thoughts, different requirement, different pie from the cookie or different part from the burger, you can say. So Fricker, he actually suggested that there was a traditional handoff, traditional method. Now let us replace it with the different kind of method. Previously we used to make the SRS, software requirement specification, both the party will sign it, and that will be the Bible, and that will guide the whole process, whole software process. Okay. Now Fricker is saying that the traditional handoff system should be replaced by handshaking. There has to be a both way communication, full duplex, or you can say bi-directional communication. We call it as handshaking. He termed it as handshaking. Handshaking is now the software team with the basic understanding. The software team will propose certain requirement solution. That is, these are the requirements. For what every requirement, for example, requirement 1, this is the requirement content, this is how it is going to impact, and what are our intentions. We need to explain it to the customer. So in handshaking, the software team is proposing and explaining. Now customer, what do they do? That is the stakeholders. They will try to understand the solution. Then they will try to find out what are the missing features. If there are certain ideas you have put which are new, they will seek or they will ask for the clarification. Now, how do we know that the requirements are good enough? Whenever you propose a solution to the requirement and the user accepts it, that is, the requirements are now good enough to go. Okay. These are the basis of handshaking. So handshaking is now giving all the detailed requirement. Now it is good enough, but we need to get it more detailed. This is given, this is directed, this is delegated to the software team. Now the software team is going to understand it more, elicit it more, elaborate it more from customers, for example, product users, domain expert. You cannot just write in English. You have to know what exactly you have to do. So you are actually increasing the way of acceptance, because everything is being accepted by the user, and this has been elicited by the software team. So in this handshaking way of negotiating requirements, it will improve the identification. Both parties can analyze and all the variants can be catered, and it promotes a win-win negotiation, because the user is also happy because he is being talked about, and then you are also happy because you can make it by yourself. So the art of negotiation is not all about software engineering. Even in your personal life, the art of negotiation is all about recognizing that it's not a competition. Whenever the parties are involved, we need to compromise. Both parties need to win. We need to map out a strategy. Whatever you want to talk, you have to plan out. Because at sudden moment, if something comes up, you will be speechless. Listen actively means what happens? We always listen to answer. We don't listen to understand and then answer. So listen and then talk. Focus on the other party's interest. See, other party wants certain specific thing and you are not giving any airs to it. So it will create a conflict. Then don't let it get personal. Why? Because sometimes we don't behave like a professional people. We become personal and that will spoil that negotiation activity. Okay? You are representing a whole organization, not your individual attributes. Then be creative. Sometimes the point will come where you have to be creative to give an idea, to come up with a thought which is really helpful for the negotiation. And once the agreement has been done, don't worry, commit. Requirements monitoring. Now, because the use cases are evolving in a particular way, incremental development way, you know that whenever the requirement will come or will be added or a use case will be made, there will always be test cases associated with it. Every use cases, because use case means requirement, user requirement needs to be testable. So new test cases will be done with each software requirement. And there will be the addition of source code for every new requirement. Every code will be written. So for requirement 1, test case 1. For requirement 2, test case 2. For code 1, the requirement 1, code 1, requirement 2, code 2. So you have R3, requirement 3, test 3 and code 3. So you need to add them also, integrate also. So requirement monitoring is encompassing 5 major tasks. First, in order to remove the error and why this error has come, there has to be distributed debugging. Distributed debugging, basically debugging is all about removing the error, removing the bugs. And distributed is in multiple incremental way. There are 2 things, verification and validation. Runtime verification is that whatever specification or the requirement specification you have made, the software should match the specification. When you relate the software with the specification, it's verification. And when you see that the software is actually meeting the user goal, user is actually doing, is happy what he wanted, that is validation. So runtime validation is assessing whether the software is actually made in a way the user wants. Then the business activity monitoring. Why this monitoring is important? Because the software is being made, the user has come for a purpose, not for happiness. He wants certain thing to be done. It is business involved. So you have to satisfy his business goals. This is business activity monitoring. This all comes under requirement monitoring. And finally, we have evolution and co-design. That is, the requirement, the test cases, the code will evolve. You guys have to sit together, co-design. Okay? And you are providing the information, taking the information. It's a kind of information outflow, inflow as the system is evolving. So this monitoring system, it will assess the user satisfaction, and also you can get the user feedback, because that is used to guide the incremental improvements, because every time the software or the requirements have to improve, right? So he says, no, I don't want this. You need to see that. If he says, oh, very good, then you can just go happy and work with the next increment. Validating requirements. Now, validation, verification is very important. Any requirement you make, requirement model make you, say you make some use case or state diagram or activity diagram. Each element of the requirement model whatever you have created, or you can say whatever work product you have created with respect to the requirements, you need to check it, you need to review it, you need to examine it for the inconsistency, omissions and ambiguity. So any user, any software team member or the requirement engineer, whatever requirement model he has made, it has to be examined for these three things. Okay. So these requirements needs to be prioritized by the stakeholders. That is, these requirements are important. Say we have 1 to 50, and then we have 20 to 30. These are very important. So, and they are related also. So we just group them and we would like to implement in the first increment. So requirement model review or the examination, it should answer certain question. That is, whenever we are validating the requirement, there are certain questions in our mind that has to be there. That is, whatever requirement we have made, are these consistent with the goal and the objective of the system or the product? That is, this requirement is really written and does it really relates with the output? Have all the requirement be specified, not specified at a particular level, but all level of abstraction. That is, a requirement for a whole system will be different for a subsystem, and that will be different for a again subsystem, and that will be again different from subsystem. That is, at every abstraction level, have all the requirements been identified and specified? Okay. And is the requirement really necessary, or it is just an add-on feature? In order to complete the objective or the goal of the system, this add-on feature is required. So this requirement is essential, or it is elementary, or it is most important. And every requirement needs to be testable. So we need to have this requirement as bounded and ambiguous. Ambiguous means a same requirement meant different to you, and for me it is different. Are these requirement can be attributed, that is referenced, that is from where you have got this requirement? Can you tell us the source from where you got this? And are there conflicting requirement? That is, for example, 1 to 50 requirements we have. The 31st requirement and the 39th requirement, they are contradicting each other. Are they conflicting each other? So this conflict should not be there. Okay. Now, is each requirement achievable? This is very important, because sometimes we write a requirement like getting sun to the earth, and that is in the technical environment that may not be achievable. And every requirement should be unambiguous. It has to be testable. It has to be, mathematically, if it is possible, it is also good. And does the requirement model you have made is actually showing the information function behavior of the system? That is all the aspect. Because system is going to behave in a different way. It will provide different function. It has different data content, information that is. So does it reflect it properly? And have you partitioned the requirement? Because the system will be developed progressively. So this requirement, in order to complete this requirement, you have multiple more requirements. That is R2, R3 needs to be completed to get completed R1. And this goes on and on. So this has the requirement model been partitioned in a way that exposes progressively more detailed information about the system? And has the requirement patterns has been used? The patterns can easily be used because we use the reusability. In order to avoid common mistakes in requirement engineering and in the software development, there are certain mistakes which we generally find. So specifically to requirement engineering, Bushman, he described 3 related mistakes. How we can avoid it in the requirement engineering, first of all, because he called them as ITs: featureitis, flexibilitis, and performitis. Featureitis, flexibilitis, and performitis. Now, featureitis is you are trying to find out where the user becomes happy. You need to know whether at certain point user will be happy. That is, you are providing all the functions, but does the quality being taken care? What happens is, business stakeholders or the users, they want more and more. They want all the functionalities. Okay, but developers, what they do, software team, what they do, they would like to implement those functions which can be easily implemented without quality. So the function coverage or all the functionalities and features you have given, but have you checked for the quality? Because let me tell you, most of the project, they fail because of quality. So in reality, if you go to the software industry, project failure is due to the lack of operational quality, not because of the functionality. For example, 50 functionalities you have asked, the software team has given you 45. Nothing will happen. But if one point of the quality is missing, if it is not usable, it is not maintainable, there is no point. Next comes is flexibilities. Now, as a software engineer, we would like, or we make it adaptable and configurable. What does it mean? That is, oh, this can be fixed. Oh, this I have added because you can add more classes here. You can add more function features here. So you are making the system more flexible. You know, the flexible function will always be poor in performance. Sometimes there are some uncertainty. The software developer doesn't know what to do. So he just introduced the flexibility just to make it, oh, I made it flexible. I made it adaptable. I made it very well made so for the future. So rather than making tough decisions, design decisions in the early part, we just hook things. We just patchwork things. In unplanned features we add. Okay. So we said, oh, this I've done because sometimes some feature will come. You can just add it here. You can just configure it here. It is quite adaptable. The flexibilities. Performity. We always try to increase the system performance as a whole. That is, the software developer wants, or they do everything so that the overall system should perform. And we are not even thinking about the quality attributes like the maintainability, reliability, availability, security, maintainability. We are just focused on the overall system performance. I'll give you an example what I'm trying to suggest. The main thing is, you need to see all the quality attributes, quality constraints, quality requirement individually. The performance of the system should only conform to the need of the product. For example, let file transfer. For example, file transfer is going on. Now, for 1 GB, 5 minutes is taking. User asks, give me 4 minutes. It is okay for user, but you are saying, no, I will give you in 30 seconds, 1 GB in 30 seconds. That is performities. Okay guys, this is all about this understanding requirement. Thank you so much. Take care of yourself.